Hello, and welcome to EmpowerID 101. My name is Phil Geringer, one of the solution architects here at EmpowerID. I've created this series of short training videos to provide you with an administrator's understanding of EmpowerID. I have included videos that cover most aspects of EmpowerID, from basic concepts to complex configurations and everything in between. Each video has been designed to cover a specific topic or process, so feel free to come back often and refresh your understanding of a particular area that you're interested in.
This video will cover the configuration of the connections to an Active Directory domain and Exchange organization. Alright, so our goals for today will be to connect EmpowerID to an Active Directory domain for purposes of inventory and management. Configure also the connection to the Exchange organization associated with that Active Directory domain. Complete a full inventory of both Active Directory and Exchange. Demonstrate provisioning, deprovisioning, and management of both Active Directory and Exchange. So let's take a look at the environment we'll be working in today. We've got a clean installation of EmpowerID with no additional configuration outside of the standard installation. This is just a basic install of EmpowerID. Took about an hour to complete. We've got an Active Directory domain that contains approximately 3,500 accounts and 200 groups. We've got an Exchange 2010 organization associated with that Active Directory domain that contains approximately 1,500 mailboxes. And we'll be connecting to the Active Directory using a domain administrator account. So let's go ahead and go over to the server and start configuring our connection to Active Directory. To configure our account store connections, we're going to go to our Management Console. So I brought it up here. We're going to go to Configuration Manager. Now there's a couple things we need to check before we go ahead and start configuring. In our servers and roles, we have to make sure that our LDAP management host is turned on and that our Exchange management host is turned on. These are the two roles that are going to do our processing for our Exchange. So there's our Exchange Management Web Service, and here is our LDAP Management Web Service, and so both of those are now turned on. Alright, that's the first thing we need to do. The next thing that we want to do is we want to go to our services on the server, and we want to go ahead and just turn off the worker role service for a little while. Because the worker role service is the service that will start up an inventory. It's got our automated inventory processes running constantly. And we want to make sure that we've got our account store connectivity definition for both Exchange and the Active Directory set up properly before we actually tell it to start kicking off the inventory. So we'll just turn that off. Alright, now that we've done those, let's go ahead and go up to our user directories. This is where we're going to configure our account stores. Now you'll notice that our account stores right now just have our basic out-of-the-box account stores, and under resource systems, notice we have the same ones, and we do not have any Exchange mailbox stores currently understood in the system. So to create a new account store, we're going to click Add New, and this account store is going to be an Active Directory Domain Services account store, so we'll click OK. Now this screen that comes up is just some basic information about the forest that we're going to be looking at, and then the authentication information for our proxy account. So we want to work with the exchange.com forest. That's the fully qualified domain name of our forest. And then the domain that we want to authenticate with is the Exchange domain, and the administrator account here is going to be the one we use for our proxy account. Now we need to select which EmpowerID server in our enterprise is going to be used to communicate to the LDAP directory, to Active Directory. Now if we had multiple servers installed in our enterprise here, we can go ahead, we could select multiple servers here. So we'll click OK. And it's gone out and it's authenticated to that particular forest using that domain credential. and it's brought up the domains that I have access to add. So I can select one, click OK. At this point in time, it's going out and it's actually taking a look at the configuration partition on the Active Directory domain that we've specified here. So it's going out and it's finding out what services are available on that particular domain. And then it's brought up our account store definition screen. Now, one of the things I want to show you about what has just happened, not only have we gotten the basic configuration for our account store established, so we see it show up here in our account store list, but also in our resource systems, we notice that it found the Exchange organization because it read that configuration partition on the Active Directory and said, oh, okay, there's a Microsoft Exchange system out here. So what we'll do here is if we double click on the resource system for Microsoft Exchange, much like we had with the LDAP agent server that we had to specify with Active Directory, we need to specify which EmpowerID server will be used to communicate with Exchange. So select that. And you'll notice inventory is enabled by default here. So that's all we're going to set up right now with our Exchange system. And let's go back to our account store here. Now down here in our account store, most of the things that are here can be left as default. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the automatic person provision on inventory. This is something that we do for dev environments or testing environments where we want to automatically create person accounts for every account that comes in. And I don't want to do that this time around, so we're just going to go ahead and enable inventory on this account store. And that's all I want to do for now as far as configuring the account store itself. Since there's not a lot I want to do with this yet, there's going to be additional configuration that happens going forward as we get into some of the different processes we want to turn on. And once we start up inventory here, I'll have some time to go in and talk a little bit about some of these settings that we can set on the account store. All right, so we've got this set. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go back out to our services. I'm going to go ahead and turn on our worker role service. Now, turning on the worker role service, we'll go ahead and start processing through the various automated processes: inventory, enforcement, synchronization, RBAC processing, those types of things. And once that's turned on, if we do a refresh data here, we should see that it started its inventory run. So it'll take just a little bit of time for it to get going. It's gonna process things in batches of 1,000. So it'll pause here for a little while, and if we refresh again after a little bit, once it gets the first 1,000 of those done, we'll start seeing some numbers show up here. So we'll hit refresh a couple more times as we go through our explanations here on our screen. So what we see here on our screen is here's where we can adjust, if we want, that LDAP agent. So if we added some additional servers to the EmpowerID implementation here and we wanted to have LDAP being processed or LDAP calls coming from more than one server to give us some redundancy and some optimization, then we can do that here. The connection account, if we wanted to adjust or change this connection account, we could come in here and we could specify the proxy connection account credentials for a different account that we wanted to. Now you'll notice here it started processing some stuff here. So we've got the first 1,000 accounts, and it found 784 mailboxes associated with some of those accounts. And so we'll just let it keep going as we go through here. Now, monitor domain controller. The system will go out and it will inventory all of the domain controllers that are associated with this particular domain, and it'll have a list of those, and we can associate which domain controller we want to target for purposes of inventory. So this would be only for the inventory process. We could have additional servers. If we had additional servers here, we could enable them or disable them for use by EmpowerID. And EmpowerID could use multiple servers to read and write to and from Active Directory as it's doing its workflow processes and its automated processes. But the one process that we have to kind of target a consistent domain controller for is inventory, because when we look at Active Directory and we do inventory of our Active Directory, we are inventorying it from a delta change standpoint. So once we've inventoried all of the objects in a particular Active Directory, we're going to make note of the USN change number, the highest USN change number that we observed on that particular database when we inventoried it. And those USN numbers are unique per domain controller. Each domain controller has its own sequence. So once we've inventoried a domain for the first time, we'll make note of that highest USN number. The next time we go back to do another inventory of that same domain, we will query that same domain controller and we'll ask it, okay, what is your current highest USN number that you have on your system? And we'll get that number, and then we'll do a read of just the records that have a USN number that is between the previous highest USN number and this new one that we just read. And then that limits us to just inventorying those objects that have changed in, say, the last 10 minutes. You can see our schedule here is set for 10 minutes right now. Let's refresh that again. Oh, look at that. It's completed the inventory already. And it took just a little over 2 minutes to do that entire inventory. And you'll notice we found our close to 1,500 Exchange mailboxes. We found our 3,400 accounts. We found our 206 groups. And then we have 124 OUs and 6 computers in our system. All right. So our inventory is completed for the first run. We should have all of our accounts now available. So we'll come back and we'll hit some of these other options in a subsequent video where we talk about in depth the management of our account stores and the configuration of those. But for right now, we'll leave this alone and we'll go to our web interface and take a look at what we can now see in the system. All right, so let's go ahead and go into our web interface and take a look at the objects that we can see and manage. I'm going to go ahead and log in. I'll log in as our administrator account. All right, once we get in here, let's go ahead and find some accounts. So find user accounts. And it will bring back a list of all of the accounts in the system. See 3,438 of those accounts. So we now see all of these accounts in the system. Now, keep in mind, the only thing we've done as far as installation is concerned is we did a clean install of EmpowerID, and then we took a few minutes and we inventoried our Active Directory. Well, in just doing those few tasks, I can come in here now and I can click on, say, William Abel here, and I have complete management capability over his Active Directory account. So I'm seeing his Active Directory account now in our interface. I can see his group memberships that he's got here. I can have certain actions I can take against his account. I can delete his account. I can mail enable it, mail disable it, those types of things. Or I can click on his login name up here and that will bring up our edit screen for this particular account. So now we see here I have access to just about every attribute about William Abel here. So if I wanted to set it for must change password at next logon, I could do that. I could set an expiration date on the account if I wanted to. I could adjust the remote desktop information. So if I wanted to enable or disable remote control, I could do that. I've got mailbox settings. If he has a mailbox associated with him, I can see all his mailbox settings. So I'm going to go ahead and save those changes that I just made. We'll go out to Active Directory and we'll take a look at Mr. Abel here. So I'm going to bring up Active Directory here. I'm going to go find William Abel. he is. There's Mr. Abel. You see some information about his account here. Now let's take a look at his members, his group memberships. And there's those groups we saw. All London, AWK, and the IFRC All Employees. So let's go ahead and take a look at our mailboxes. So we're going to go search. We're going to go find mailboxes. And we'll see that now we've done inventory. We have all of our mailbox objects here in the system, all 1,472. All right, so the next thing I want to do, now that we've seen that we actually have all the objects in here, is let's go ahead and create a mailbox and a user account so we can see what we can do just out of the box with EmpowerID. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a user and mailbox. It's one of our workflows that we have that comes standard with the system. So the create user and mailbox is going to allow us to put all of the information in for a user and the associated mailbox. So this wants to know what Active Directory OU we want to put the account into. So let's put it into the Albany branch here, and we'll submit that. Then it's going to bring up the data entry screen for which mailbox store I want to use. And so these are all the mailbox stores that we know about, the mailbox databases in the system. So we're going to create it on the test1 mailbox store. And now we can put his information in here. So let's go ahead and we will create a user. Oh, let's Monica. Templeton. And Monica.Templeton. Alright. So we'll just put some basic information in, and we'll put our password in here. And you'll notice we have the password information here. And we'll say that they must change password next time they log in. Now also with this, we could adjust the mailbox settings. So let's go ahead and disable OA and disable Active Sync when we do this particular mailbox. We'll submit. Now it wants to know if we want to put them in any groups, and we don't necessarily want to put them in any groups right now. So we'll go ahead and submit there. And that's going to go out to our Active Directory and to our Exchange. And it's going to create that user account and mail enable it and create the mailbox for it. And it tells us that it was executed successfully. So I'll say OK. So now let's go and take a look and see if we can find Monica Templeton in our Active Directory. So do a find, we'll look for Templeton. There's Monica Templeton. And we can see here that she has Monica Templeton at exchange.com. Doesn't have a whole lot of information here just yet. We notice must change password at next logon is set. Of course, the account is not set to expire yet. And we have the display name and other things that we put in there. And just remember the domain users. Now let's go over to our Exchange server that we've got and go find her mailbox. So go find Miss Templeton's mailbox. There she is. So we'll bring her up. And let's go to mailbox features. And we'll notice that both the Outlook web app and the Exchange Active Sync are disabled on her system, on her mailbox. All right, so that shows provisioning. of that particular object. So now let's go ahead and go back into our system again here, and we'll go find that particular person again. So we'll go find that account for Monica Templeton. So we come in here and we'll just search for Monica. And there she is. So we'll click on Monica here. And we'll edit her. Alright, so this is Monica again. So let's go ahead and uncheck the must change password and give her an expiration date on her account of November 30th. And then for the next day, while she is active, we'll go ahead and we'll enable Outlook Web Access and Active Sync. And just for grins, let's go ahead and hide her in the global address list. And then we'll save Monica. And it tells us that it did do what we told it to do here. So now if we go back out and we take a look at Monica one more time here, go find her in our Exchange system. There's our Monica. You'll notice she is hidden in the global address list. Her Outlook web app and Active Sync are now enabled. So she is good to go. Now let's take a look at her account here. Oh, let's go back over to Active Directory to look at her account. Now if I remember right, she should be in Albany. There she is. There's Monica Templeton. Let's bring her up here. And we'll take a look at her account now. Must change password is not set, and she is scheduled to expire at the end of November 29th. So that would be an effective expiration as of the 30th. All right, so that shows us some provisioning and management that we can do. Now, the last thing we want to take a look at, let's hit our back button here, is we're going to go and do a search for accounts again. Now this time we're going to click on our Actions button here, and we're going to say that we want to delete an account. That's going to want to know which account we want to delete. So we'll go find Monica Templeton and select her. So that's going to go out and it's going to delete Monica after I say yes here. It says it was executed successfully. So if we now go out into our Active Directory and we'll do a refresh over here, Monica has disappeared. If we go try to find Monica again, all we see is our Louis Templeton now. Alright, so that should do it for this demonstration here. Let's go back and summarize what we've done here today. So, configuring connectivity to an Active Directory domain, an Exchange organization, is actually quite straightforward. Some simple UI pages allow the user to enter the appropriate information in the system for configuring the behavior of the connector. Once configured, all of the default out-of-the-box workflows and processes necessary to manage the Active Directory objects and those Exchange objects and other things can be used without any further setup. And we see that full-featured Exchange management is immediately available as well once the domain associated with the Exchange organization has been configured and inventoried. So thanks for watching our video today, EmpowerID 101, configuring an Active Directory connection and Exchange connection, and come back later for new videos as they become available.